Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, I got a little project to work on today, but I think it's going to be a relatively simple fix. Let me show you what I need to do. Turns out we got a little bit of a rainstorm last night. As you can see, we got just a hair over an inch of rain, and this is causing a little issue I have to deal with on the pool. Let me show you what that is. As you recall, about a week ago I put the cover on the pool, and of course now when it rains, not only are leaves and stuff like that falling onto the top of the pool cover, which is what's supposed to happen, it's also the water starting to accumulate a little bit in here too. And I have a couple choices. I've actually kind of used a hose in the past to siphon the water out, but that isn't the best way to do it. Part of the problem you run into is that the hose tends to kind of suck up against the side of the plastic cover, and then the water stops pumping out. I also could use a bucket to bail it out, but that's kind of a pain too. And as it turns out, I'm going to borrow an idea that I used in my house in California. You may recall I had a fish pond in the backyard, and I built a little tool out of PVC that I used to siphon the water out of the pool. Actually, when I needed to get the water out of the pool, I designed the waterfall pump so that it could be reconfigured to pump the water into the storm drain, or I could also use it to pump it into large 100-gallon trash cans that I had, and that way I could reuse the water rather than having to waste it all. But the problem is, how do you get the water out of the trash cans and back into the pond? And I used something I made out of PVC there to siphon the water back out into the pond, and that worked really well. But when I sold the house and moved away, I destroyed that thing and basically threw it away. So because I honestly didn't figure I'd need it again. But I think kind of a modified version of that tool would help solve the problem, and I'm going to build that today. It's actually pretty simple, and I'll show you the process. So basically, these are the pieces I bought at Home Depot that I'm going to use to make a piece of PVC that will siphon the water out of the pool and onto the ground. And this should work pretty well. Like I said, this is going to be a variant of what I did before. And basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this T piece. I'm going to attach a valve like this here. Going to do a little bit of PVC between here and here. Go a right angle piece. Put another T-piece on the top and another valve on the top here. Then we're going to go back down, and when we get to the bottom, we're going to have it shoot out. So what'll happen is, there'll also be one of these down here. What'll happen is I will insert this end into the water in the pool. I will raise the water level above the valve and then close the valve. And I'll close the valve on this end, and what I'll do is open up this valve, fill up the internal parts of the PVC with water, then I'll close the valve on the top, open this valve, and the water will just siphon out. I know that sounds really complicated, but it'll make a little bit more sense when I put it together. So let me kind of quickly throw this together and show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so there's the finished product. Actually went together pretty quick because I kind of had a picture in my head how it was going to work. And this is going to be a very simple little siphon that'll be easy to set up and prime. And basically, the principle of a siphon is you want your supply end to be at a higher level than your output. And so what'll happen is, once I fill up all of this plumbing with water, there'll be more weight on the water here than there is here. So what'll happen is, when I open up the valves, the weight of the water will pull the water out, and it will pull it up over the lip and down, and it'll drain out here. And like I said, I'm going to show you how that works right now, because it's real easy to set up and prime. Alright, so this is how this thing will initially be set up, and like I said, it just goes right up over the lip of the pool and into the water at the bottom there. And what will happen is, I've closed this valve right now, and I've left this valve open and this valve open, and I've submerged that end into the water. So now that I got that end into the water, I'm going to close that valve. So I only have one hand to do that with, so You have to bear with me. Now I've got the valve closed at that end and at that end, but it's open at this end. And so what I can do is I can just prime it by putting a little bit of water into this end, filling this up until we completely fill up the cavity. And basically, since I got the valve closed at this end and the valve closed at this end, there's no way the water is going to escape. So I have completely filled up the cavity of the plumbing. Now all I got to do is close this valve, open this valve. Once again, I'm balancing the camera here. So long as I keep that in under the water's not going to leak out because we've got just basically a vacuum there. Now when I open up this valve here, the water will start siphoning out. And I can do that now. That'll go really, really quickly. And because I've put a T valve instead of a straight down valve, it won't suck the plastic up to it, and so that'll keep the water flowing. And so you can see this is a very simple way of siphoning the water off of the top of the pool cover without having to do any bailing and without having to hassle with the hose. And see, as you can see, I've already pumped the water out faster than the thing could replenish, so I'll have to kind of babysit it a little bit, but that's kind of how that works. Alright, so I spent about 20 minutes in here. I probably got about 95% of the water off of the surface and out of the pool, which is a good thing. The rest of it will kind of evaporate over the next couple of days, and that's what I want. It's not going to ever be a perfect thing where you get every drop of water out of there. But what you got to do is get it out of there, get enough of it out of there so that the elements will kind of just dry up over the next few days. It's going to be sunny and kind of somewhat warm over the next few days, so that should all dry out pretty well, and we shouldn't have any more further problems with this. Now, I actually ended up modifying the siphon a little bit more. I added a little bit more length to this end here because I found it wasn't sticking far enough into the water to get everything out. The water tended to pull the pool cover down further than the pipe was reaching. So I added an extra about a foot to the end of the siphon on this thing, on this end over here, just so that it would reach down further. It drains slightly slower because of that, but it still does a better job because it gets more of the water out. So there you go. Proof positive that it's not just monkeys that can make tools. And just for the record, Flash's caves seem to hold up pretty well under the rain that we got for the last few days. And as you can see, the tomato plants are starting to bounce back a little bit. I thought maybe I'd killed them all when I buried everything and kind of repositioned everything, but they're coming back, and probably next spring we'll have some tomatoes here for Flash to munch on. I also have some catnip that I bought seed-wise that I might plant in here just for grins and giggles. Who knows, Flash might like that, and if nothing else, you know, I can cut it off and give it to the cat. So there you go. Just following up on that. And just as a little follow-up, the jalapeno plants are definitely doing well. Check those out. Yeah, that's going to be making my life a little hotter in the near future. And a bunch of the plants here are actually producing really well. Remember I told you early on I was concerned that these weren't doing very well. I think at the beginning of the summer there was a lot of cloudy days, and I think the jalapenos just really like it when it's a little bit sunnier. So definitely got a nice crop coming of jalapenos. Tomatoes are almost done, but I'm still getting a few of those. They're starting to look a little ratty up here, but still getting a few tomatoes. Still a little the little cherry tomatoes are coming out good. And I saw there was a good sized one under here somewhere. Yeah, there's a decent one that we'll be getting at some point. I'm sure they probably like the rain that we got the last couple days. But we're definitely getting some of the cherry tomatoes. They're starting to come in again. I see a bunch of them here. That one's probably ready to go. A couple orange ones back there. So yeah, just kind of catching up on that. There's a few more down there. So I don't know how long these go this year, if they'll die out and I'll just end up pulling them all up or what. But we'll play that by ear. I'm guessing maybe the jalapeno plants might just come back year after year, so maybe I won't have to do anything with those. But Definitely getting a good crop of those this year. I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.